Welcome to URL Unzip, Reboot, and Leave, a podcast about the psychology that moves us. Through real conversations with thinkers, doers, and seekers, we explore how we adapt, evolve, and find meaning. So let's unzip, reboot, and leave. Today, our guests are Noler Harris and Shane O'Donnell. Together, they founded Keep Changing Lens. Anne is a master healer and international consultant in energy medicine. For more than a decade, she helped leaders break through stress, mindset barriers, and energy training habits to create clarity, alignment, and fulfillment. Shane is the founder of Praxis Momentum Method and the certified Proctor Gallagher Institute consultant. He works with professionals who have lost their spark, helping them break free from old patterns and rekindle their magic. So we have Anne and Shane today. How are you guys?
Great, thank you. How are you?
Very good, top of the world.
Thank you. Thank you for your time. So first question as okay, Shane is born in Australia, but pretty much we all are immigrant. I'm from India and from London, and raised in Africa most of your life. I will ask this question to one by one to both of you. To Anne, as someone moved from London, how did your sense of identity evolve in this new country?
I think it was much easier for me than probably both of you because we both, England and Australia, are like very similar countries. And so the transition was quite easy for us to move over. The hardest thing is not having your family and your friends with you when you emigrate. You're basically starting from scratch, everything, jobs, new home, lifestyle, everything. And I think the hardest thing for my husband and I when we first arrived, apart from not having the family network of support, was how hard it was to get work here. It was and I don't blame Australians for doing this, but they, at the time, so I'm going back 18 years, and I live in a small town, really. I don't live in Sydney or in a big city. And what we were finding was that they tended to employ Australians first. After a few months of realizing this, we actually took off from our resume where we come from. And then we started to get the interviews and things because it was more based on skills than it was on that we'd emigrated. But the main thing that we found, sorry, it's not what you know, it's who you know. And once our network of people started to grow a bit more, we would find out that there's a job going here, or this is happening, or this event's on, and things like that. So we was able to start to build the community around us as well. So yeah, but apart from that, it was very similar moving over. We didn't have the language barrier or anything like that.
The move over was, I never intended to get a job. We came over with the intention to open a business. We opened two businesses in Sydney, but they were not very good businesses. So everything that we had, we lost through those two businesses. I had a business partner who lives down the road here. He and I were in business in other businesses before in Africa. And so we thought we knew something. But when I lost everything, he got a job straight away with his brother who had built a company in the UK and wanted to expand into Australia. So he got a job straight away, 2 weeks after we shut our business. But I was left to go and fend for myself. I found it impossible trying to get a job. And all I could get, I've only ever been employed once in Australia in the last, since 2002 when we came over. And that was when we sold a business to a large corporate, and I had to be employed for a year to hand over the business. That was the only time I've had a contract in the country. But before that, all I had was drive your car, use your fuel, commission-based contracts, which you get paid for every sale type idea. And unfortunately, I wasn't a very good salesman, so I had to do more mileage than most people. Anyway, it was just part of the journey. But I must say that even when we bought a business to recover our financial situation, initially we got some pushback because of my accent. But within a year, that all changed and that business just grew exponentially. So we can get some knockdown and then we get into a mindset that, it's our accent or where we come from Once I got over that, 12 years after the first year of owning that business, it wasn't an issue at all, ever, never an issue. So often it's a mindset that we interpret certain things. But I find once people understand how to work in the system, it works. So in contrast, my daughter, who's Australian, is now in London, has only been there for a number of months. She's doing incredibly well. She got a job straight away. And the two other people that she moved over, both Australians, they got jobs straight away in London, and we've just been to visit them. They're just doing enormously well. So it's an interesting contrast.
Yeah.
In London, you're welcome there if you've got the ability. It doesn't matter where you come from. Whereas, like Anne says, often in the smaller towns, the regional towns, it's who you know, not what you know.
In my case, same thing. And whom you know, I don't like that at all. I mean, come on, at this day and age, there are a lot of technology. Man, do something so that you can cut this crap. In that environment, what I tried is a career change. It's another monster by itself. No one wants to listen to you. No one wants to hear about you. All they want is what you have done before. What is your experience? I will probably start swearing on it, but yeah. So this is what it is.
I haven't experienced, I didn't even know it was still going on. I thought that it had changed quite drastically over time.
It's same. It's still same, and it's big corporations, big cities. It's all the time. It's same. There are a few cases which is not about the system, which is not about the organization. It's about that individual who wants to see things differently, who wants to do things differently. Sporadically, things are happening. Otherwise, this passion, this soft skills, whatever. In my opinion, these are all rubbish. That actually doesn't have any practical implications in the recruitment or a job market.
To add to what you're saying there, I think it's just a natural evolution. It will filter through Australia, I believe. Just experiencing what we experience in Europe, where it's so dynamic, it's so competitive with the world. Whereas Australia, we still have a certain lifestyle that we enjoy. So things are good. In Australia, everything's good. So we don't need to be as competitive as the rest of the world. And so that does have an impact on productivity, I believe, in the workplace, in enterprise. I do believe that. Research done in our competitiveness in the world and the quality of management compared to elsewhere in the world, in first world countries, we don't rate very highly. And I think there's a paradigm shift that's coming in Australia, and Anne and I want to be at the forefront of that.
Yes.
One thing I can also mention here, I was other day discussing with the HR manager, and I said 15, 20 years back when I started my career as an employee in Australia after finishing my education, I'm not saying any bad things against anyone. We didn't get any extra value because of doing masters, because most of the managers in the corporates, they are either school leavers or a diploma holder. Okay, I don't have any complaint against that. But the same thing after 15 years is happening for PhD students, because the managers are now graduates or masters. There is hardly any PhD candidate who are into managerial level. So having that wisdom is not working for them. Many times it's working against them. So in this corporate, in today's day and age, I guess this openness, this acceptance needs to come as fast as possible.
Yeah, it's a huge opportunity. It
Oh
is a
yeah, for
huge
sure.
opportunity. Yeah.
For sure.
Productivity in businesses. My biggest issue owning a number of companies, one being a public listed company, an opinion about management. And the problem with most managers is that they're good technicians at whatever they do. And then they're forced into a management position where they're given the responsibility of empowering and managing people, and they're not taught how to do it. They've got no tools. They don't have the tools to do it. And so they just do the best they can. And often they're following their emotions. They're stimulated by how they emotionally feel about things. They were more destructive to the business. And within a month of that happening, I changed the business. the business went into profit straight away. So the issue when it comes to management is not necessarily the manager, but it's this perpetual cycle of um, taking high achievers in a certain area in a business and saying, okay, you can become the leader of that unit, but they're not given the tools. That's the biggest issue. And that's where, Anne and I, we empower people to break through those limitations when it comes to managing people. That's what Anne and I do.
You say, or you guys actually say that mindset work alone isn't enough. From your perspective, what does where actually psychology end and energy work begin? Or
Good,
are they inseparable?
good question. That's Anne for Anne to answer.
Yeah. So Shane and I both really strongly believe that you do need the mindset work and the energy work to work together. And what we mean by that is that in business for so long, people have just been taught the strategy and the mindset tools to try and achieve the results that they want. But what they don't realize is all of the emotional trauma or blocks in the body and in their paradigm, in their belief system, really holds them back from getting the results that they want. And so when you understand that when you work with the energy that's going on in the body and you clear the blocks that are holding you back, and most of the time they're subconscious blocks, so you don't even know that they're holding you back. Once you clear them and then you implement the strategy, everything changes because you haven't got anything that's subconsciously holding you back anymore from getting the results. We work with the tools together to get people the results that they're looking for in a
Well,
really short time as well. It doesn't have to take years to do this.
That's the main point. When Anne and
Yeah.
I started working together, that was the number one thing we said. Personal development's been around for like 50 years now, where it's been intense, starting with the Earl Nightingales and the Think and Grow Rich book, the bestseller by Napoleon Hill. They followed certain paths, and it was long and laborious. And one thing that Anne and I said is that we want to get fast impact results. We want people to elevate their lives quickly and their results quickly, rather than selling a program that's packed full of fluff. And a lot of it's fluff. It's unnecessary. It's long reading and listening to podcasts or listening to audios when we can shorten that whole gap in the mindset side. But where Anne is, the point that Anne's making is when you combine that with understanding when we free up the blocks in the subconscious, the blocks in the body, the emotional blocks. Now you get transformation at a hyper speed. It really happens quickly, and it's so liberating. I've done all the traditional stuff. I've done it for years, and it worked for me, but it was long-winded. And what we
mm.
see happening with our clients, with Anne and I, just it's so refreshing to see it.
And that's why, like many leaders today, feel burnout despite high performance. They are busy all the time. They are adding values, etc., etc. What is happening, like beneath the surface, emotionally or energetically, that traditional psychology is missing?
For me, people, when they get to a certain stage in life, they're looking for something more. They're actually looking for fulfillment in their lives. And if they don't understand that, they keep searching for something. What actually happens is it feels like something's missing in your life and you can't put your finger on it. But what people tend to do is they go down either two pathways. They go down the materialistic pathway where they start buying the flashy car, the bigger house, all of those type of things. Or they go down the pathway of trying to understand what's wrong with them because they feel like something is wrong. And there's nothing wrong. It's just that they're searching for something and they don't actually know what they're searching for. And when you find out what you're searching for through the work that Shane and I do, and you understand what the purpose is and what the missing point is, that's when everything changes. Because, like doing the intuitive work that I do, I see them like they're scurrying around in the bushes, on the side of the roads. They're just lost and they're trying to find their way back out again. And once you pull them back into the right lane and get them back on track, they move forward very quickly because they're not spending all of this time, this wasted time, looking for something that they can't find. That's the beauty of like understanding fulfillment is what they're actually searching for, but they don't understand how to get there or what it is that will fulfill them to get the results that they want.
So, and I guess you will answer it. So, this whole human technology, this is the term you use, and you also like call yourself master healer. So, what is that? I mean, like, where did you study, or what is the procedure? If you can explain a little bit.
I'll tell you quite quickly what happened. So I used to work in corporate in London, worked there for over 10 years. And when we emigrated to Australia, my husband and I went through a financial experience with one of the top four banks, and we thought we was going to lose everything that we had saved. And we also thought that we was going to lose our home that we'd paid outright. And it took us on a journey where I realized that the strategy and the strategic, organized way that I'd always lived my life wasn't going to get us out of the situation that we was in. And through a few experiences that happened, I realized that there was something much bigger than us that's able to help us. So I'll just call it the universe, but you can call it God, you can call it spirituality, angels, guides, whatever name you give it. I realized that there was an energy around us that helps us in a way that we can never logically understand. And it started my journey. And when I started to implement some of the things that I was learning, we managed to get out of the situation that we was in, and we got back most of our money. Like it wasn't as bad as we both thought it was going to be. And we then got asked to look after a CNI dog called Ella. She had cancer, and they just asked us to look after her for 3 weeks whilst they was deciding whether they was going to put her to sleep or what they was going to do with her. And as soon as she walked down the driveway towards me, I felt this shift in my body, and I just knew that I wasn't going to let her die. And because Western medicine had said that there was nothing else that they could do for her, I realised that the only alternative was for me to go and look at alternative medicine for her. And so I found a lady who would teach me Reiki, just to work with Ella. And she taught me the skills, and I came home and I'd start to practice what I was being taught. And Ella, after a session, she would just get up, shake, and walk off. And I'm thinking, does this work? Because I was such a skeptic myself with it. And my husband, we asked if we could keep Ella, and they said yes. And about 6 months later, my husband's saying, I said, I think it's working. And my husband said, no, it's just because you're spoiling her rotten and she loves living with us. And I was like, no, she really is different. She's got a spark back in her eye. She's like a pup. And she was 6. And my husband ended up having an accident. When we got back from the hospital, I said to him, can I practice on you what I do on Ella? And he said, do what you like, I don't care. And as I started to work on him, he was like, oh my God, Anne, he said, I can't believe what's happening in my body. And he really gave me the feedback that she wasn't able to. And he had a massive scar going across his arm. And over the next few weeks, it just shrunk and shrunk and shrunk. And now you can hardly see it. Like it's just completely healed really quickly. So I just started to study different modalities. I became a Reiki master. I studied advanced metaphysical anatomy, medical intuition. But really, the whole time that I was studying it, I was trying to prove that it didn't work. And I got to a certain stage, and I was actually in America doing a course, and I ended up working with so many people over there whilst I was there. And this lady said to me, how many more people are you going to need to work on before you actually believe this works? And it was like she'd punched me in the chest, like it was such a surprise, like a shock moment. And I realized that this was what I was meant to be doing. And I've been doing that for over 14 years now and work with people worldwide. with any health issue, any, subconscious blocks that they've got that's holding them back, any emotional trauma. Just work with the body to clear it, and understanding that we need Western medicine and alternative healing to work together to get the results, and it's magical.
Shane, I'm sure you also went through things like this in your life. The reason I said it is I went through depression, and after that,
Yeah.
I went into this spirituality and this meditation and stuff like that, which is a nice fallback for me now, and very, very empowering thing what happened to me. So, what was your experience, Shane?
Well, what I've come to understand is that when we go through these parts of our life where there's extreme pain, I've come to understand that the pain has intelligence. Our higher self telling us that we are ready to go to our next level. It's if you look back on your life, there's been periods of your life where you've experienced something that is traumatic, painful, and you've had a shift in your consciousness, and then your life changes and you go in a different direction. And
Yeah,
that's what's happened. That's exactly what Ada just explained. It happened to her. It happened to me when I lost everything in Sydney. I had nothing. I was in debt, actually. I owed money. I only paid it off when we sold our last business. I paid off that debt. What happened when I was in Sydney, I was going through what you say, this mental anxiety. I thought I was having a heart attack pretty much every day, going to sell mortgage refinance in Sydney. I was driving everywhere all the time, 3, 4 meetings a day, working from 10 o'clock in the morning when the first person would see me till I'd be driving home at midnight, and I'd have to stop on the side of the road because I felt like I was having a heart attack because I did not know how to recover. I'm 35 years old. How my wife and I always said we wanted to grow old gracefully. We wanted to live on by the ocean and love life. Both my parents died broke, both of them, and I always maintained that they did that to show me how I didn't want to leave this planet. Because who wants to work their entire life, 40 years, and be broke when you retire? I mean, to me, it doesn't make sense. Actually, Anna and I have written a book about this because we went through the 7 committed decisions that we had to make that took us from that place of darkness to where it's a lot lighter now, that's for sure. In every part of our life, financially, and spiritually, with our family and friends, with the quality of holidays that we take. I mean, I've just come back from the most awesome holiday, flying business class. But when I lost everything in Sydney, I struggled to imagine what I was going to do the next day, let alone go on, 5 week holiday in the Mediterranean and so on yachts and all this sort of thing. There's no ways I could think about that then. That transformation is an important part when we recognize and understand that it's just part of the correction process, that we're just being prepared for our next level. That's all. It's not the end of the world. And
yeah,
what's the worst thing that can happen? Well, we leave the planet, and then it's my belief that we come back again and we get another chance at it. So while we're here, all we have is this massive opportunity to elevate our lives, elevate our consciousness, elevate our mindset, so that we can enjoy the most of this life, and overcome issues that need correction in at a deep level in our lives. That's all.
yeah. And for both Shane and I, like, we had to be really broken down for our belief systems to change,
Yes.
like literally rock bottom. And again, I've
Yeah.
experienced what Shane said about feeling like you're going to have a heart attack, or the anxiety is just so strong because you're just terrified that you've lost everything and you can't see a way out. But we want to help our clients not have to go to rock
Yes.
bottom, to
You
miss
don't have to
that
do
bit.
it.
And you don't have to do it.
Yeah. No.
We learn through our experiences that there's an easier way. But both
Yeah.
of us had to go through those experiences to be able to understand the levels that you have to go through to be able to live the life that both Shane and I now live. As Shane said, we've wrote this book, and Shane is his story is about going down the logical pathway of getting out of his situation, and mine's the more spiritual pathway of getting out of the situation. And we were both going through very similar things and never knew each other, doing what we're doing, and had to both go through the experiences around the same time as well.
Just to add to that is that both Anne and I experienced this financial issue, but on top of it, there's been health challenges, and mine was a significant health challenge. When we bought the business, the doctor said, "Look, you probably got 5 years to live." And I said, "No, it's not in my plan. So I'm not buying that idea." And that was sort of 13 years ago. I'm fine. So, but we had, I mean, I couldn't go to work. I was half the size I am now. I'd lost all this weight, and the doctors couldn't put a finger on what it was. But it was, again, it wasn't a correction that was necessary. I won't go into the detail why I understand now why it was necessary for me to go through. From that point, our lives jumped significantly, and the results were extraordinary as a consequence of this illness I had to go through. And Anne's on the money with when she says we both had to be broken down. Why? Because both of us are quite stubborn. So we weren't listening to the our higher self saying, "Go this way, Anne, go this way, Shane." We were saying, "No, this is how we do it." And they say, "Okay, well, you don't know anything about business, so you're going to lose all your money. You don't know about this, so you're going to get so sick that you can't go to work." And so that's why I say pain has got intelligence. It corrects us.
I would like to add one more thing here. Since 2012, 13, I'm trying to work something into mental health area. But because I'm not a psychologist or a psychiatrist, no one was listening. No one. Then COVID happened. Then COVID happened and things started shifting a little bit. I started getting bit and pieces of wing. And why?
Yeah.
Because some care system recognize that lived experience has its value. So they are bringing lived experience people into the care system.
Yeah.
Now, this lived experience, I'm thinking, why in mental health? It can be anywhere. If we can integrate this lived experience people into any job, any sphere of life, healing and situation can shift like magic.
You can't buy experience. You have to go through it and live it, because that's what you're going to learn from. And it doesn't matter how many qualifications you've got or anything. If you haven't got any experience in life, you're basically living from a book.
So many people, I mean, this is my personal question also. Sometimes we do overthinking, procrastination, reactive, like become too reactive to situation. What's your understanding of the psychology behind these patterns? Is it weakness or is it something else? Or is it that intelligence you were talking about?
From the moment we arrive on this planet, we we have the option to operate from one or two states of being. At any moment in time, you can only be in one state of being. We can either be in a reactive survival mode where you activate your sympathetic nervous system to fight, flight, freeze mode, and that just wears out our body. Or you can proactively calm yourself down and connect with your higher self, or with the creator or God of your understanding, whatever we call this intelligence that's in the world. Some believe, some don't. And it doesn't matter if you don't believe it or you do believe it. If you're an atheist, it doesn't matter. The system still works. Train yourself to recognize when you're going down a reactive path, which is pretty much all the time, because we're being tested all the time. There will be things that will trigger everyone all the time until they work out that trigger. You ask yourself the question, why is it still in my movie? And you recognize that is something that you need to resolve within, and now it's not a trigger anymore. And you don't go down the reactive route with that thing. That's where this whole idea of correction and elevating yourself is the process of this mindset work and this energetic work that Anne and I do. It's just a process, and it's not simple, but it's very, very practical, and it can be applied at any moment. It can help us get beyond this cycle of negative emotions and things like that. And it takes practice. That is for sure. I don't think you ever arrive in this lifetime, but you can always improve, and it all is based around the patterns that we place importance in our life, the patterns in our mind that we routinely move into every day, the belief system that we have, which a lot of it we could have picked up in our childhood, in our culture, in the business culture that you move into, so on. But there's more to that. The simplicity is that our paradigm dictates our identity, our self-image, and our self-image gives us our results. But when we learn to shift that, we get a different result, and we can elevate our lives just through that.
And that's what happens with the paradigm. Like if you've got the paradigm running subconsciously in you, and it's procrastination or overwhelm or that anxiety, those type of things, that's what is going to keep happening. And you're going to keep working and working to try and get the results, but they never quite come because there's always something sabotaging.
So psychologically, what blocks collaboration or sharing a vision or sharing an idea in a team most often?
If you think of an organization, any organization, no different to an individual. So an individual is made up of belief systems, of habits, of routines. That forms their paradigm. A team will have habits, belief systems, and routines within that team. All right. Some of them are productive and some are non-productive. The key to a team is that a team has a leader, and the energy of the team is dictated by the identity of the leader. Let's say leadership comes in a scale of 1 to 10, all right? And the leader is at a 4 out of 10. No one in the team can go past that. There'll be a 3 or a 3.5. That's who will be in the team. Anyone that's a 5 or a 6 will leave that team because they're not inspired by the leader. But the leader can go from a 4 to a 5 to a 6 to a 7. That's just opening up their understanding, getting control of their circle of control, or consolidating the circle of control and mindset, and elevating their consciousness. And there's ways to understand that, and it's very practical ways. Teams are just a team culture is just a paradigm. That's all it is. And that can shift when people understand how to shift it.
Well, just what Shane is saying, that the leader of the team is important, because if they are not willing to understand their restraints of what's holding back the team, then their vision for the whole company gets sabotaged. And then what starts happening is people start leaving, and then the company has expenses in training up new people. They're going off sick because they're unsatisfied with the work environment, and it just costs the company so much money in retraining or re-employing people. And really all they need to do is teach their leaders how to elevate, go to that next level, and then the team will follow them.
In our training, we have 3 basic pillars. One is mindset, consciousness, and then strategy, business strategy. And the number one issue with most businesses, leader will have the vision of what they want to achieve in their mind, and no one else has a clue what's going on because it's still in the leader's mind. So we, in our strategy part of our business, and we've got a short course that really helps business owners take the vision and put it onto paper so that it can be implemented into the business, so everyone understands it, breaks the vision down into bite-sized chunks that are measurable, and you can take action on it and you can execute on it. And that's one of the number one issues with most businesses, is that the vision is in the leader's mind, and everyone else is just guessing their way forward. They don't really understand. But the energy of the business is determined by the energy of the leader and the clarity of that leader. And again, it's just processes. They're not complicated, but I've done so many mindset courses and so on, and no one breaks down the vision of the business, or the leader's vision of the business, into bite-sized chunks so it can be executed on. No one does it.
Like the leader, okay, he has the energy, but he can do also certain things good way. He can't do everything in a good way. Maybe he's a good
No.
marketing guy, but not sales guy. Maybe he's a good sales
Yeah.
guy, but not an operational guy. Something like that. So that thing also needs to
Yeah.
Yeah,
merge.
but if you take it from one step, where when someone comes up with an idea and then they start trading, they a sole trader. Then they get too busy and they become overwhelmed because they're good at what they do. So they bring their first person on. And they spend a lot of time together. So the first person kind of gets some of the vision. That might be a salesperson, a marketing person, whatever, a person who does the technical side, whatever it is. But then as the organization grows, the distance between the new employees and the leader, there's separation, but the person who the fifth, the sixth person employed, they don't really have the clarity of the vision of the business. And so that's why it needs to be documented and then implemented daily, weekly, and quarterly, so that people can accelerate, and you can get everyone on the bus, the right bus. They're sitting in the right seat, facing the right direction, singing the same song, and they're all behind the vision of the business. Because so many visions go unfulfilled. They don't ever get released properly into the world because they're still in the business owner's mind, or the leader's mind, or the entrepreneur's mind. Yeah, so the whole concept of mindset, most people have heard the word, they think they understand what mindset is, but very few actually really have a grasp. And when we do get a grasp of mindset, then what we can do is very quickly, we can consolidate what we call our circle of control. We can only go as far as the limits of what we believe is possible. So I call that the circle of control. Circle of
And this
control.
mindset is also, Shane, it is kind of shifting or changing for good as your experience is getting bigger and bigger. Is that right?
As your realizations. So as you get those epiphanies and say, oh. And so one area of science that Anne and I spend a lot of time in, and we've actually written a book about this, is the science of surprise. So it's one of the seven major emotions that we have, but it's the most powerful emotion, least studied. It's like 400 times more powerful than any other emotion that we have to change the direction of our life. And so when you understand the science of surprise and you're able to implement that in your life practically, and it's just practice. And that's why most people don't shift quickly, because you need a coach to take you through these. Someone who's been through it, so they can help you, they can mentor you when you're going through a tough week, but it's holding you to account. If you don't have accountability in shifting the challenge that you have, most people will eventually just wear out and just say, well, I'll just stay on my track. And so they end up living these lives of never really achieving what Anne is so right in saying, the sense of fulfillment.
And the other thing as well is that, to be honest, most people are not even aware of what is going on for them. They're not awake. So they just go from one bad experience to the next bad experience, then they have a little bit of good, and then another bad experience comes. And they just think that that's a normal way to live, but it's not, because once you change the paradigm and you work with whatever it is that's blocking, everything changes, like Shane says. And the circle of control becomes so much bigger because you're allowing different experiences to come in that are much more fulfilling and fun. And that's how we all want to live.
So on that, hopefully our audience will be on a path to fulfill their life, and including us. Thank
Yes.
you, Shen. Thank you, Anne, for your time, and thank you for your wisdom.
Thank you.
Yeah, well, we
Thank you.
thank you for the opportunity to really express ourselves. We think it's important to keep getting this message out to as many people as possible. Anne and I, we want to awaken consciousness at an enterprise level. So we're relentless in that, and we really appreciate this time with you.
Excellent.
Yeah. Thank you. And if anyone wants to find out more, they can go to our website, keepchanginglanes.com.